Hello, once again, I'm Cosmic, and today we're going to be taking a look at Never Alone, an indie story-driven puzzle platformer developed by Upper One Games and published by Eline Media. Upper One Games worked with Cook Inlet Tribal Council, which is a non-profit group that works with indigenous groups living in Alaska's urban areas. The game was made to share the stories of Alaskan native culture and bring new interest into Alaskan indigenous folklore. The proceeds from the sales of the game will fund the council's education mission. Now, Never Alone tells the story of an Inupiat girl, Nuna, who finds herself stuck in an eternal blizzard. She is saved by an Arctic fox, who then becomes her companion. They both then set off to find the source of the eternal blizzard, meeting friends and foes along the way to try and save their way of life. Nearly 40 Alaskan native elders, storytellers and community members contributed to the development of the game. The story of the game combines different folklore tales from Alaskan natives and produces some wonderful atmospheric storytelling. The game is narrated by a native elder who speaks the native language throughout the game. The whole narration is very well done, and due to the fact that the narrator is speaking in the native language, it not only adds a degree of realism and gravitas to the story, but also a sense of atmosphere. Graphically, the game looks fantastic. The Arctic setting looks great, and its colour palette of a mix of black, blues and whites all make for a very eye-pleasing, vivid look. The game visually reminds me of a cross between Brothers and Child of Light at times. The mixture of 3D and 2D works really well, and the effects such as lighting and the snow winds look fantastic and provide great atmosphere. The soundtrack of the game is also wonderfully composed and adds ambience to the various situation and story points throughout. In terms of gameplay, you must both use Nuna and the fox to accomplish different tasks in order to progress. Similar to Brothers, Nuna and the fox both have different roles. Nuna can climb ladders and ropes, move heavy obstacles, and throw her bowler at targets, whereas the fox can fit through small areas, scramble up walls, jump to great heights, and can control the spirits that come to help you. In single player, you can seamlessly switch between the two at any time, allowing you to adapt to any given situation or puzzle. You can use either the mouse on keyboard or the controller to play the game. The game has clearly been designed with the joysticks of a controller in mind, particularly throwing Nuna's bowler, and so I would recommend using one if you do have one. As you go through the 8 chapters in the game, you'll come across a variety of puzzles and your run-of-the-mill platforming to take care of. Usually, you'll need both your character's abilities to overcome hurdles, such as moving a crate with Nuna so the fox can jump, then run up a wall to throw a rope back down to Nuna so she can climb up. As the game progresses, Nuna and the fox will gain some other abilities, such as Nuna's bowler, which is a throwing weapon that Nuna can use to break objects, among other things. The puzzles in the game are done fairly well, and they all work well within the Arctic setting. The folklore adds really colourful elements and characters to the game, such as the spirits who help you traverse the land. Like in any puzzle platformer, as you progress, the puzzles slowly become more difficult. However, there's nothing in the game that requires more than a couple of tries to get right. Should you find yourself dying, the game does have a regular checkpoint system denoted by the owls along the levels. As well as the single player, you also have drop-in drop-out co-op, which works really well. Having a friend control either Nuna or the fox can not only be fun, but it allows you to progress much faster and smoother. However, you will require a controller on PC to play co-op. While Never Alone hits the right marks in terms of looks, atmosphere and story, it does currently have a number of issues. First, something hopefully that developers will try and iron out as soon as possible is the sheer amount of bugs in the game. In several major places in the game, I found a couple of bugs that hampered my progress briefly, and I had to restart from a checkpoint to continue. At one part in the game, I was getting chased by a polar bear until you reach an ice bridge. Now, what's supposed to happen is that the bear steps on the bridge and falls into the water, which triggers a water spirit to carry Nuna and the fox across the water. However, on several occasions, this scene bugged, and the bear wouldn't step onto the bridge, causing the ice to just break apart and causing me to die over and over until after one reset the bug was eventually no longer present. Another issue is specifically for single player mode only. Because you can only control one character at a time, the other character AI basically just follows the one that's being controlled. Sadly, if you're in danger, for example, say someone is throwing rocks at you, and the non-player controlled character can sometimes kind of forget to move, and then subsequently dies and dies and dies over again until they get it right, which can get frustrating and annoying. Barring the few minor bugs that I found, and to be honest, I hope they will actually get ironed out quite quickly, probably on a day one release patch or something like that. The gameplay is actually pretty good, pretty solid and pretty smooth. I don't really have any complaints with the controls, as it all seems to tie in well. It works really well as a puzzle platformer, and overall with the gameplay I'm highly satisfied. One of the great aims of the game is to educate people on the culture of Alaskan natives. They have done this by putting insights which you unlock through playing. Insights are essentially short videos which you can watch at any time that explain the different parts of the culture and the things that you see in game. It was a great way, in my opinion, to implement this in the game, and just some of the short videos alone contain some really interesting information and things that I personally didn't have a clue about. As a whole, Never Alone is very well produced. While it does have some minor hiccups along the way, it is a beautiful atmospheric puzzle platformer that not only allows you to traverse beautifully crafted Arctic environments, but it's a video game that's about sharing and ultimately celebrating a culture. Not only does the game provide great entertainment, but the game's purpose is also to harness the power of video games as a medium as a whole in other forms, such as education. It's about learning, experiencing another culture, it's about celebrating that culture, and ultimately providing entertainment through that. And I think that in that regard, Never Alone is a fantastic puzzle platformer, and if you yourself like puzzle platformers, this one will definitely be right up your alley. And that is Never Alone. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Do like, subscribe and leave a comment, and I will see you next time.